Hello there, YouTube subscribers. Today's video is basically on a couple different things. An unmodified radio and a comp modded radio with no variable power. And what this test is similar to the one I did the other day on two different radios, but that was all on the test bench with just the radio on its own. Now we're going to do a little test in driving amplifiers, and I can get in a big long discussion about that, but just because a radio shows you a whole bunch of stuff on the bench by itself doesn't necessarily negotiate what is going to drive into an amplifier or excite that amplifier. So you could have a radio that's pushing 14 RMS and 60 or 70 peak, but when you put it into an amplifier it just falls on its face. Little mind-blowing there when you say that to people, but that's the facts, Jack. That's just the way it is. So basically the test today is we're going to go through the amplifiers and see how it drives. Of course, I'll give you a lowdown. I usually use this behind my drivers, my Yaesu meter. My bird meter is hooked all the way from the final amp, and then this bird meter is hooked on my final amp. Now this bird meter here is generally reading my RMS, where the digital one is reading my peak, and then I just follow this one just primarily through my two drivers. I use two drivers. So let me give you a setup of what I'm doing here. I use a little 2-pill behind the 29, and generally I get about 10 RMS or so out of that, and that drives into this 2-tuber, which is two 500Zs, and that generally gives me about 250, 300 bird, and then I go into my final box, which is a 16-pill. Hooked to my big power supply. What we're going to do is in turn I'm using the iPad. The motor mouth modulator's in here. So this is all done with the modulator, and we're going to look at some of the signal stuff over here. Now granted, I'm just going to switch radios around. I'm not going to sit here and doctor and do this and do that. My signal should be in pretty good shape, so I shouldn't have to really mess with too much, because I usually do talk on this system pretty much, but the whole thing about this video is a stock finaled radio versus a comp tuned radio. So basically we're going to start off with the 2-pill, and just to let you know too, it was kind of unfair the other day with the one video I did because they were two different versions of 29s. Today we're going to use, that's a Philly, and the one I use on here is a Philly. So, it's better to go with the same genre of 29s, and we can get in a long discussion about the different genres of 29s. There's 3 different versions, actually more than that, but in all reality there's 3 different versions because there was 3 different ones with 3 different audio chips. So I figured it would only be fair to go with the same version to do these type of tests. Here we go now with the 2-pill, and as you see with the 2-pill on, it's probably about a 2-watt dead key. Yeah, to about 10, and then the peak is about 200 peak. Now I've told people this multiple times, I'm not worried about peak drive at all. It's the RMS that really always kills stuff. It's never peak, it's always RMS. So let's get this out of standby. And now my 2 watts has turned into about 90. Now granted, I usually, with just these two on, I'll carry it a little bit higher. I flipped to the 1000 watt scale, by the way. So there you go. We're about 90, 100. And then the meter should pull up audio. So there we go. 1 2 1 2 audio, audio. And I'm a little bit excessive on my negatives. 1 1 1 1 1 audio, audio. Hello, hello. But I'm not going to sit here and dial it all in. Like I said, I was actually out here playing with some truck drivers the night before, so that's kind of why it's a little high. Audio, audio. So maybe about a hair over 200, and the peak end of it, audio, about 1000. Audio, so about 200, and that's a 2500 watt slug, by the way. So we're going to kick this guy on. And this is the one that really matters the most to me, is the final box. Actually, my dead key is a little low. Normally I run about 1500. Audio. Audio. is 15. Audio. And I'm tapping out the 5,000 watt slug. So, I'm not, like I said, I'm not worried about peak, it's more RMS. So let me switch up radios and let's see what we get. I'll be back. Alright, we got this Philly radio in here. I put a comp tune on it. I acquired this radio from a customer. Basically, some idiot hack went in here and did things in the radio that they shouldn't have been doing. Basically the radio created its own oscillation, and what it was doing was when the customer would unkey the radio, it would stay pretty much keyed up. What was funny is the green light would be in receive mode, but yet on the watt meter it would show keyed up, so it was an oscillation. And the customer just decided to buy a new radio and not mess with this old thing, and I kind of piddled around with it. I found out what was wrong with it, and we fixed it. So basically what I did is I just threw the comp tune in it and just do this video with, actually. But here we go. Let's go down to what we're doing. I'll put this in standby. And we'll start off with the toot pill again. You know, basically still at our 2 watt dead key. Oh yeah, oh yeah. So we got a little over 200, over 10. And the peak is, oh yeah. So we can crank about 250 on the peak end. And like I said, I'm not that worried about the peak so much. It's more the RMS. I'm going to flip on, get that off standby, flip over to 1,000 watt scale, and basically like before, we're right around 100. You know, I'm trying to keep the dead keys the same. So as you see, that's on the 200 watt scale. We'll go back to the 1,000. As you see, it's pretty much the same as in the other video, because I want to do a pretty close comparison between the two without doing too much crazy nonsense. Oh yeah, hello. So as you see, about 300 peak in. Oh yeah, about 1,000. I don't think it made too much difference on the peak, but it's more the RMS that I'm worried about than anything else. And of course our signal's over here. Hello. Hello, 11111, audio, breaker, breaker, breaker. Oh yeah. So looking pretty good over there too. I mean, my negatives are just a tad high. We'll throw on the big box. Dead key's about the same. Oh yeah. So as you see, I gained another 100 bird out of the 16. Oh yeah. And of course it's, oh yeah, smacking my 5,000 slug like it's nothing. And just to show you on the digital, I should have done this with the other radio. Oh yeah. So both meters reading 16. So basically with a comp tune 29, I gained a little bit more watts. So you know, there you go. So you can get away with a comp tuned radio with a motor mouth mall modulator. You know, it was told to me that you couldn't do that. You really wanted to use a stock radio and this and that. And then, of course, in the test I did the other day was with the thermometer. And actually, the modified radius final doesn't get nowhere near as hot as a standard radio. So that's the difference between a MOSFET and the standard transistor. And most importantly, it mostly comes down to setting the bias to the transistor or the gate to the MOSFET. So, which the gate is similar to setting the bias. And with the circuit that I use in these type of radios, it's really, really close to an AB1 type class biasing that I use on the FET, which keeps a constant voltage and it's applied during heating cycles. So your voltage always stays constant, so it keeps the final cool. Hope this was somewhat entertaining or educational, I should say. You have any questions, feel free to email me. Y'all do that a lot. That's why I made this video too. Because people wanted to know, just because a radio shows something by itself doesn't necessarily mean what it's going to do when it drives into amplifiers. Okay? So, there you go. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. They call me Stickman. I'm at the No Name Amp CB shop, and I work my East Coast sound, and I'll see you. Bye, bye, bye.